Gonzalo is a philosopher, so he can be a painter. I'm not a philosopher. That means I'm definitely not a painter, which is why I have to have GIS. How about you? Are you like me, or are you like Gonzalo? GIS has made it possible for me to do a lot. And one of the things that I am very fortunate to be able to do is to be with you and others like you from around the world. So the slides will catch up in a minute. But you are actually a part of a very extraordinary group of people, a global network of people who are GIS professionals. One of the things that is a tradition for us to do, and I would like to start my discussion with you this morning by having you turn around, look next to you, look around, and meet somebody you don't know. Okay, Portugal is a small country, but I'm sure there's somebody here out of over 1,000 people that you don't know. So take a minute and get to know some of the rest of this global network. Go ahead. Did you meet a philosopher? An artist? Another GIS person? Somebody passionate about what we do and how we can work together to begin to do really not philosophy, but really very practical things. We're challenged today by many different things. Of course, we know that Europe is having another slight recession. At the same time, we're all working very hard to solve a lot of problems. Global climate change. Economic uncertainty, of course, is always there. Potential conflicts around the world. How we manage our resources. Are we going to be secure? How do we manage all of our natural resources, become more sustainable? All of these problems, all of these things, all of these considerations, Gonzalo actually touched on them in a sense in a very practical way. But we face that in many different areas, many different disciplines. And to be able to tackle these challenges takes a lot of understanding. Geospatial systems are actually helping us to understand. We know at the core, at the very base, is lots of data, data of all types, an increasing amount of data. How can we then turn this into information, things that help us see new insights? How can we also then take these new insights and begin to apply them to our experiences, to create knowledge, to manage that knowledge, to share that knowledge, and create true understanding, which is what we really need to address these most difficult challenges. And really, to be effective, we need collective understanding. This is something that we all need to work on. And actually, your work is really making a big difference here. You're working in many different areas, tackling some of these most difficult challenges. Some of you and your colleagues around the world are monitoring environmental change. Understanding the oceans. Actually, I ended up taking on a lot of new information and a lot of new understanding today Portugal has an enormous reach and sphere of influence when it comes to the oceans. This is truly the new frontier. So understanding these oceans, understanding the physical part, the biological part, the political part, all these things are really quite interesting, and it takes a lot of understanding, a new frontier to begin to build the knowledge, then the understanding. You and your colleagues are also managing natural resources, managing forests, monitoring the health of those forests, looking at those forests as sources of energy and biomass, also looking at one of our most precious resources, water, groundwater, and many other types of things, hydrocarbons, and of course, managing the interactions of all these things within an ecosystem to maintain a sustainable world. GIS is also helping us develop energy, not just hydrocarbons, which are still the mainstay, but actually beginning to shift from the traditional energy that you and I have grown up with, and probably will continue on for a while, but to be able to replace that with renewable energy, new sources. GIS is actually one of the most important tools to help us begin to develop these new sources of energy. Earlier this morning, do you remember a discussion that Vitor had with us about GIS? He said, GIS is not about the past. Yes, it helps us record the past, monitor things, understand things that happened in the past, but really, GIS is about the future. GIS really is a tool that allows us to plan, to model, to evaluate alternatives, to truly plan for the future in many different ways. It also helps us manage land information, which really this land information, cadastral information, land ownership, land title, this is actually the foundation of our civil society. There are some interesting writings by an economist. He's a Peruvian guy. Also, he's a very practical person as well, Hernando de Soto. He talks about the mystery of capital. It all starts with land records and the traceability that we all have. It's our chain of value. So very many things. So GIS, of course, is at the heart of managing that information. GIS also is helping us design and manage transportation, moving goods and services. Obviously, this is an important thing. We've also seen shipping routes, air routes, high-speed rail routes, the interaction of all these things. We also have to manage utilities, water utilities, electric utilities, telecommunications utilities, and the interactions of all those. Something that's also emerging is the use of GIS to help us manage campuses and buildings, the space within all those, making sure it's efficient, making sure that our quality of life is also good there, that health and safety are also preserved. Health and safety, obviously, in the areas of defense and homeland security, national security, maritime security. We've already heard about some of these applications right here in Portugal, but these are things that GIS is helping to resolve around the world. In today's economy, one of the things that is beginning to be even more important is the use of GIS not just in government, not just for managing public administration and government resources, but also extending into the business world. the ability to assess markets, the ability to determine accessibility to those markets, the ability to reach customers, the ability to improve commerce and be efficient about how people can purchase, and also supply chains. Very interesting what's happening there in the commercial sector. Understanding demographics and human health, the interrelationships between where people live, the experiences that they've had through life, where they've lived, what things have influenced their health, how people come in contact with each other. This is absolutely a geographic problem. Back to empowering law enforcement and public safety. GIS really, especially in difficult economic times like this, is what we call a force multiplier. As budgets are shrinking, it becomes more difficult to put more feet on the street, as we say. So we need to make every individual as effective as possible. GIS is helping us do that, helping us fight fires more effectively, helping us confine crime, helping us understand how to pre-position and respond with emergency vehicles and do that faster and better, even when, as I say, budgets are shrinking. Well, natural disasters. A lot like Portugal, I come from a place that is full of disasters. I come from California. We have floods, we have earthquakes, we have fires. You would think that we should be using a lot of GIS, and actually in responding to and planning for natural disasters, GIS is one of the most effective tools we have to both prepare and to respond effectively. There's something else that's emerging. We talk about being connected. We talk about interacting with each other. We talk about becoming more global. Yet, at the same time, we want to have a sense of community. We want to be able to communicate with each other. We want to have relationships with each other. So we have this idea of social media. Well, actually, GIS and social media are actually coming together. This idea that people and citizens can engage with one another and engage as part of civil society, it's another very, very interesting way that people are becoming connected. This idea about crowdsourcing, understanding trends. It's actually a new field of science, social science, and of course, geographic science. All of this information is coming together. Geography, as we know, brings us together. It's the one thing that's common amongst all these different disciplines. So we're seeing a trend that's happening very fast. Actually, it's been in the works here in Europe, this idea about Inspire. Inspire is about sharing information. It's about collecting knowledge. It's about creating geospatial infrastructure throughout Europe. So GIS really is the platform for sharing this geographic knowledge. I've been thinking as I listen today, the art of being Portuguese. This idea about philosophy, this idea about art. Well, I think I'm maybe beginning to understand that all of this comes together to really, we have to solve practical problems. At the same time, we need things that are visual, to help us understand. We need technology to help us extend the reach, to expand our minds. What helps us do that? I'm going to talk for a minute about something that we refer to as geoinformation products. What are geoinformation products? Well, first of all, they help us truly understand issues. They combine all the appropriate information we need to solve practical problems. They also help us analyze and manipulate information so we can create compelling designs to help us tell stories and help us gain this collective understanding that we talked about a little bit earlier. So these are some characteristics about geoinformation products. And you, as GIS professionals and specialists and members of society, in a sense, you have an obligation to create good information products to help us create this better world that we talked about. So good information products are timely, like this tsunami forecast. When will the big waves come ashore in different parts of the ocean? How can we respond? So this earthquake that happened in Japan just about 1 year ago, when was it going to reach the coast, the west coast of the United States, so they could plan, prepare, mitigate damage? This is another very interesting map, an information product. It helps disseminate knowledge. Initially, at Fukushima, after this earthquake event last year, it was thought that the nuclear energy was going to be confined. And so the evacuation area was fairly limited. When the information actually got connected and created this very meaningful map, you could see that the extent of that was actually, first of all, not circular. It was very linear, and that certain areas were more affected than others. Getting this information out was critical to the survival and the future of this particular region. Good information products communicate importance. So in this map of suitability for conservation, those areas that are best for conservation can be put into that use, limiting the development in those areas. Good information products also support decision making. So knowledge about where hydrocarbons are can help us efficiently go after those. Also, looking about what will help us remain sustainable. Actually, all this information leads to better understanding, which of course leads to better decisions. Good information products also illustrate change, such as this Landsat imagery through time. Also looking at things like sedimentation or changes in temperature around the world. Good information products show status, such as where the government is making expenditures versus where the need is. Looking at where aid funds are going into aiding Haiti to recover from the earthquake that they had there a couple of years ago. Also, where NGOs are applying their money, like the Clinton Global Initiative. Where are they applying their money? So one group can leverage those investments and become more effective. Back to what Vitor was saying earlier, good information products can actually show the future. They can help us create a more sustainable world. They provide timely information. They help disseminate knowledge, They support decision making. They illustrate time. They show status and performance. And they show the future. Combined together, they can effectively tell a story. That's actually what I respond to the most. So, as GIS professionals, I'd like to challenge you a little bit. I'd like to have you think about how you can create good information products, combine these into stories, and actually help to accelerate this process of collective understanding. Actually, we have a website called storymaps.esri.com. I'd like you to think about contributing to that site with some of your important stories. Let me talk a little bit now about some of the trends of GIS. GIS, like the world, like various parts of enabling technology, is changing rapidly. We talked about the many measurements that are being taken. And actually, even we are being measured all the time. How many of you have one of these? You're being measured right now. Actually, you help others measure also. Many different sensors, many different devices. These measurements are all coming together and creating huge, huge, huge collections of data. This idea about big data. Okay, we've always had a lot of data, big volumes of data associated with GIS, but this is getting even bigger. New techniques, new technologies are being developed right now. Computing, of course, Moore's Law, thank goodness, continues to be true. Technology is going, let's say, computers are getting faster, networks are getting faster, connectivity, we're all connected all the time. Twitter, Facebook, whatever's coming next, who knows? SMS, something very common. Also, science is evolving and co-evolving with technology. In fact, GIS is helping us advance science. So this is a two-way street, as we say. And all of these things, as I say, are enabling technology. They're all part of GIS. And GIS is becoming an integral part of all of these technologies as well. As GIS changes, we're seeing a new pattern emerge. This is a more intuitive platform, a lot easier, more accessible, available to many more people. So this idea that GIS professionals can begin to share their information to many different audiences, to broader audiences within your own organization, the knowledge workers, also helping managers understand, also getting to the crux of the matter, the difficult parts of the decisions to help policymakers make better public policy, make better decisions. And the other thing is involving citizens and constituents. Actually, this is not just outward bound information. This is a two-way street, as I said. Citizens are being more engaged with government. Government is finding new ways to become engaged with their citizens. It's very interesting, and it's a very powerful trend. All this will provide access and common infrastructure. It will enable individuals to be more effective. This new platform will also facilitate communication and collaboration within an organization, and it will also help break down barriers between organizations. Very powerful what's happening with this new platform. As I mentioned, this is also a very practical system. It actually helps us coordinate our work. It helps us measure. It helps us manage the data. It helps us analyze relationships. It helps us visualize and understand. We can then apply those in a decision-making process. We then can take those decisions and put them into action. So this is a very practical thing that's going to change the way that organizations work. So what's happening is we're actually creating a global geospatial platform. This is going to be quite extraordinary, and it just now is emerging. So individual agencies and disciplines are participating. This platform is going to support many policy and practical problem-solving initiatives, like helping us create jobs, helping us engage more effectively with citizens, helping us open government, information, transparency, accountability. It's going to help us all do more with less. It's going to help us work together to solve these difficult problems. It's going to eliminate redundancies, and it's going to help us be more responsive. This is a whole new open framework. It's very interesting. So let me tell you a little bit about the technology and some of the work of my colleagues back in Redlands. Well, we've talked about GIS advancing rapidly. Actually, our product teams are working very, very diligently right now. They have deadlines coming up. And actually, ArcGIS 10.1 is in beta and pre-release, actually, right now. So you all understand about how GIS is being implemented. You're all familiar with the desktop. You're familiar with servers in an enterprise environment. And something that's really advancing rapidly at 10.1 is this idea about pervasive GIS. GIS in the cloud and in the web, making all this information easier and more accessible to everyone. So there are some key themes. One of the main themes is actually online. And actually we'll explore some of these later on this afternoon, looking at advancements in the desktop, the server, mobile, those of you who are developing systems and new applications, and of course, how all these combine into solutions. So it's about a complete geographic information system. Let me talk a little bit about ArcGIS Online. How many of you have actually used ArcGIS Online? Anyone? A few. Okay. Well, by the end of this conference, I hope you all are excited about this as I am. This is fantastic. GIS goes with me anywhere because of GIS in the cloud, online GIS. What is this? It's an emerging platform. It allows us to manage information. It allows us to publish maps. It allows them to have access to these maps any place, any time. So ArcGIS Online actually organizes geospatial content. It makes it more accessible across an entire organization and between organizations if that's what's important. So users can manage their content. You can catalog information. You can actually include people that you need to work with in groups. And you can also host map services. This is something brand new. One of the things that enables all this is something called intelligent web maps. They actually are a new media. They integrate services This is geographic services, maps, data, models, and so on into one easy-to-understand media. So what do intelligent web maps do? Well, they support information pop-ups. They are dynamic in terms of web map services. They integrate time. You can actually also drag and drop spreadsheets, bring your spreadsheet data to life on a map. You can do spatial analysis, and you can also do animations and a number of other very interesting things that we'll explore. One of the other unique features of intelligent web maps is that they can be used anywhere on any device. This is something very, very powerful. So the idea is that you can have one map, not multiple systems, multiple maps, one map that can be accessed by desktops, on tablets, on smartphones, shared into social media, embedded into websites, accessible by browsers, and also shared with many others in this new online world. Pretty interesting and extremely powerful. So, ArcGIS Online integrates other platforms. So those of you in your own enterprise environments that may be using Microsoft SharePoint and Office, for instance, ArcGIS integrates there, and those same web maps can be shared online. You can take those same web maps and share them within business intelligence systems like IBM Cognos. You can also integrate with your ERP like SAP or your CRM, maybe in the cloud like Salesforce. Pretty powerful notion, this online. But let's not forget our old friend, Desktop GIS, for creating and managing geographic information. So all aspects of desktop get better: mapping and visualization, editing, and spatial analysis. And we'll take a closer look at some of the exciting things that are coming. We're also advancing 3D GIS. As I mentioned, the idea about campuses, buildings, facilities, creating the future. Actually, there's a brand new product called City Engine. Actually, Esri acquired a little company, group of very innovative scientists from Zurich. And this product called City Engine is a rules-based engine for creating urban landscapes. ArcGIS 10.1 also improves integration and exploitation. The idea about fast visualization, the ability to analyze on the fly, the ability to create accurate measurements from imagery, full motion video integrated within a GIS framework. Also, automatic enhancements, so you can take these huge mosaics of data, image data, and actually put them online very quickly and have them look good, ready to use very quickly. The same technology that we've applied for collecting very large, massive collections of imagery, we now are applying to collections of LiDAR. So the ability to transform LiDAR into useful information just got easier with 10.1. ArcGIS also simplifies sharing your work. I think this is actually the biggest part, the biggest innovation really at ArcGIS 10.1. So it used to be very difficult for us to share our work. We would work collecting, analyzing, building maps, and then it always became a little difficult to share those maps with a broad audience. Well, all that gets almost instantaneously better at 10.1. So you can create these maps. You can then right-click and then share those maps as a service. If you're in an enterprise environment, you can share those and publish those on an internal server, or, as we talked about online, you can share those services into the cloud. This is a powerful, powerful new idea that helps us share this geographic knowledge much easier. The foundation, really, of this geospatial infrastructure is ArcGIS Server. It, of course, gets much more powerful, much faster, much more scalable. Linux, an equal partner to Windows. Anyone think that's a good idea? I bet many of you do. But the real story here is that ArcGIS Server is re-engineered at 10.1. It's full 64-bit to take advantage of the latest server technology, which will give you much better performance and scalability. Web applications are actually part of that environment. So lightweight REST viewers, the APIs, which are now open, and also some ready-made viewers that allow you just to quickly configure ArcGIS Server to hook into those map services that you created. Mobile GIS is also a platform for connecting many workers that used to be isolated out in the field. Now, we're all mobile citizens. And actually now, whether we're knowledge workers or field workers, ArcGIS will help us extend the reach into the field. So we support many new types of devices, Windows phones, iOS, Android, and of course our old friend ArcPad is still there for GIS in the field. I mentioned about developers. We actually need, I need help. I'm getting older. My brain, well, it has a thought pattern. Actually, I see a lot of people who are much younger, smarter, new thinking going on. Actually, there are some great new tools for developers to create a new generation of geospatially enabled applications. It's going to take the power of geography and help us spread it everywhere. So I'm very excited about the advancements there. So ArcGIS at 10.1 empowers developers. We have new APIs and new platforms that are supported. We talk about the mobile, web, and desktop, and also many APIs that help us make this information easily embeddable, much faster, much easier in new ways. So we can take these lightweight runtimes, quickly adapt, and embed in many different ways. There's also this product called ArcGIS Runtime. It's easy to deploy, it's fast, has a very lightweight footprint, runs in Windows and Linux, is full 64-bit. This is especially interesting in these military and also national security type applications. So those of you who work in that domain will be very, very interested in this product. All of these technologies that I talked about are really about solving real-world problems. So at 10.1, we're also starting what we're calling solution initiatives. This is about taking best practices, best knowledge to create, in a sense, templates and best practices to help us solve many of the common problems. So what we're actually now doing is making it easier, rather than having just a collection of tools, we're creating some templates to help users get started. Templates that allow us to quickly configure and use ArcGIS for many, many different application areas. ArcGIS for public safety, ArcGIS for planning and development, ArcGIS for water utilities, ArcGIS for emergency management, ArcGIS for intelligence, ArcGIS for nonprofits and NGOs, ArcGIS for ocean planning. Get the idea? So getting our collective knowledge assembled into maps, data models, tools, so you can simply drop your information in and become productive much, much faster. Pretty interesting. So this is about organizing knowledge. It's about making these templates actually accessible, quickly configurable. It's about engaging communities in sharing best practices. It's about making these templates open source, meaning that you can quickly take them and adapt them and apply them. And also, our business partners are also embracing this new solution pattern that we talked about. So Esri is not going to develop all these things. Actually, Esri is going to do this along with you, our user community, and also our partner community. There also are some ready-to-use applications. Many of them are also in use already here in Portugal. And of course, partners, as I mentioned, are going to enhance and extend this platform. Well, what's next? Lunch? What's next about ArcGIS? Well, actually, one of my favorite things to do, and why I love to come to user conferences, is that we share a lot of ideas. I learn a lot from you. Hopefully I can share some ideas with you. The whole idea of this conference is sharing, learning from each other, and getting better. So actually, Esri is very interested in getting better and serving you. So we have this website now, ideas.esri.com. There's some very interesting ideas that keep coming through. Our developers are hungry for these new ideas so they can incorporate them into the next releases of ArcGIS. I think, as you know, Esri is really more than software. It's about the strong technical support that we provide to you along with Esri Portugal. It's about education so you can learn and become effective with these tools. Esri is about partners, enabling partners to help add value to the geospatial world. And it's about learning and books and publishing through Esri Press. Mostly, Esri is about serving you, our user community. It's something that we are completely dedicated to do. Without you, we're nobody. So we appreciate all the time that we spend together with you. But we are dedicated to advancing GIS and geographic science, to promoting this idea of spatial thinking. Fortunately, we are financially strong, even through this economic crisis. But mainly, we have many strong relationships with you and with others around the world, which we appreciate very much. Now I'd like to ask you to do one more thing. We can't get this notion of spatial thinking out there on our own. Spatial thinking, in a way, for people in this audience, is actually a way of life. But there are many people that don't really understand spatial thinking. They haven't experienced the power of GIS. So what I'd like you to do throughout the year here is think about how you can reach out and become involved in schools, universities, community groups, and help people understand the power of geography. help them understand how geography matters. And, well, it's a little ways out, but pretty soon it will be November 14th, which is GIS Day. This is a day where I'd like each and every one of you to go to a school, your children's classroom, a university, lecture hall, whatever it is, and tell some map stories. Use stories, the work that you do, to show the power of GIS. Also, we know that our world is challenged from an environmental perspective. So we support conservation in many different ways. So I'd also like you to volunteer. Well, maybe it's not just conservation, but many other community groups. So the idea here is that we extend our reach to do good with the knowledge that we have. We also have now a nonprofit organization program. So this is actually free software. Well, a small administrative charge so we can do the shipping and handling. But we now have thousands of organizations that are taking advantage of this. The idea is that we want to help those who are helping others. So in conclusion, if I may, I think you've all seen and you know that geospatial systems are helping us understand our world. Actually, your work provides that evidence. We also are seeing that there's a new geospatial platform that's emerging, one that is helping to organize the world's geospatial content and make it available to everyone. This platform is going to improve government, it's going to improve business, it's going to improve society, it's going to help us become more efficient, very practical things. It's going to help us communicate, collaborate, and ultimately have this common understanding. So there's a very extraordinary individual, Stephen Hawking. And what he says is, with emerging technology at our disposal, the possibilities are unbounded. So I urge you to enjoy the rest of the conference, share this knowledge that you have, create some excitement about sharing your information, and really take this message from Stephen Hawking to heart and create a whole new world of possibilities. Thank you very much.